It's a Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, Adoffin, he can hit them, and he does. Adoffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello everybody, welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. I'm glad you can all be with us. We have aimed to talk about yesterday at New York Stadium where the spoils were shared with Birmingham City as Steve Evans made his return to New York Stadium. We'll go through all the incidents and action from Saturday afternoon. First of all, Mick is back. How are you doing, Mick?
All good, mate. Thank you. You?
Yeah, very, very good. Wonderful. Tom's back. How are you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm well.
Good stuff. And Danny's here with us. How's Danny doing?
I'm doing all right, thank you. How are we all?
Very, very good. Thank you very much, Danny. So let's start with the interruption yesterday, medical emergency yesterday. It's one of those sayings that gets said in football quite a lot that about people going to football and never coming home. And Sid Barrack obviously had, as mentioned by the club and everything else, had a medical emergency at the game yesterday. The club tweeted out his current sort of condition is in critical care in hospital. Thoughts, prayers, everything, not just Rotherham fans, Birmingham fans, football fans in general, with Sid and his family. And we hope and pray that you get back down to New York Stadium at some point. So, yeah, thoughts, prayers with Sid and his family at the moment. And we should shout out the medical staff, the ambulance staff, the police staff that were there, that were on the scene. We should also shout out the referee as well. Keith Stroud stopped the game instantly. He handled the situation brilliantly by allowing that care to come onto the patient and over to the family stand as quickly as it did. Everybody who was there dealt with the situation as well as could be expected, probably above and beyond, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, thoughts and prayers with Sid and his family, and we hope everything. I hope you get well soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the football. Mick, odd game, 0-0. Just like it was in Neil Warnock's first game, 0-0 against Birmingham City at home. It's a bit of symmetry for you. General thoughts. We'll talk about specifics in a minute, Mick. But what are your general thoughts on Mr. Evans' return?
Yeah, we're all right, weren't it? It was okay. We were a lot better than we had been because he's basically told them to attack rather than sit back and soak it all up, which is essentially what we've done for the last 42 games prior to yesterday. So yeah, it was. I mean, let's be fair. There wasn't any quality at all on show yesterday from either side. There were, and then you could probably argue that we probably wanted to win more than they did, although they needed to win more than we did, obviously. But I don't think they had a great deal of desire in the way that they played. But I thought we were all right. Yeah, we were all right on the whole. I have some issues with a couple of people, but we'll move on to that at some stage in the.
Well, let me write that down. I'll just put injured in inverted commas. Yeah.
Yeah, could do that. Yeah.
Come back to that. Tom, it was one of those games that it wasn't a very good game, but for the first time this year, I kind of felt involved as a fan because when we beat Millwall, it was a bit of. I obviously celebrated the goals, but there was no sort of amazing. It was just kind of this is funny. This actually we scored a goal. Yeah. I actually felt properly involved in the game yesterday as a fan for the first time this season. The players showed something, and it wasn't brilliant, but they showed something that I feel like I can get on board with.
Yeah, they showed a bit of grit, bit of fight, bit of press, bit of character, bit of identity. It was good. It was good to watch. Definitely an easier watch than a lot of the past games have been. You know, a lot of games that have been this season have been really hard to watch. Just the quality is still very, very lacking. We are definitely not a championship standard quality side. which is weird because on paper we should be, but these players just can't do it, unfortunately. But we've asked for ages that if they've not got the technical ability, that they have the know-how and the passion and fight to actually play and to try and win a game, and that's all you can ask for in a performance. Sometimes you'll win games and the performance is bad. Sometimes you'll lose games and the performance is good. This season we've lost a hell of a lot of games because the performance has been awful. You didn't often say that about Warren's teams. You didn't often say that in just the past couple of seasons, whereas this season it's been very much we didn't deserve to win, and we know we didn't. So yeah, you come out of that thinking a point is fair, but then also probably should be 3. A win wouldn't have been a win for us, wouldn't have been out of the equation based on the premise of the game, which is always nice.
Yeah. Nick says better. It is battling for every ball, went forward with intent, but as per lacked the quality in the final third. Nicky also says that they were extremely poor. They were, but it's not like they're the worst team we've seen this season. We've seen worse. We just
been beaten by worse.
Been beaten by worse. We have, yeah, we have, absolutely we have. YouTube says I enjoyed the game. Yeah, Danny. I mean, we did the interaction last night, and I think I saw on there that I enjoyed the game, and a couple of comments came through on YouTube, sort of almost criticising us for sort of saying that, and I did. I enjoyed it. I said I felt involved in the game. I felt like everything was kind of meaningful, even though it actually wasn't meaningful. If that's how we're going to play, I'm on board. I'm not going to win every single game, but yeah, I'm on board with that kind of football.
Yeah, I am as well, because we actually felt involved with it this time around. I mean, like we've highlighted, the attacking intent still needs a hell of a lot of work for next season. But it was nice to actually go forwards, because normally we just seem to dither around midfield and defence and then just create nothing from it. But I'm going to be misquoting here, but Evans said that Sean Morrison told him on the bench that we'd had more corners in 8 minutes than we had in like the last 8 weeks, or something like that. Or at least it felt that way. But that's what happens when you go forward. You get attacking opportunities, and we've just been lacking it so much. And we said on the post-match reaction, Hugo will mention other aspects of him coming back in a minute, but he looked like he actually cared this time around. In his own special little way of still falling on the floor, which you don't want to see. Because a few times he was on the floor whilst we were breaking and we needed him elsewhere, but he wasn't responding.
There was one time in the thing of the first half where we were laid on floor and everybody in family stand around us were screaming at him to get up because he was obviously not injured. And when your own fans are telling you to get up and stop laying around, you're probably not doing something right.
Yeah, but I think Evans will get it out of him, even if he has to hit him with a shoe to get it out of him. But it was just nice to see. And I suppose nice is one way to put it, because it raises other questions as well. But it was nice to see an immediate response. Yeah, I think, because Evans got a very good reception for when he came on. Fair play to Alan Cox for giving him the sombrero as well. That were hilarious and went viral. But that sort of homecoming for Evans almost garnered the response that we gave, which was, in his own words, to give 20% more than we've given recently. And it showed. It really showed. Like, obviously, there's a lot of things that need working on, and he's only had 2 days with them so far. But that's why I've warmed him a little bit, because he's galvanised the squads a bit more, and more than I thought he would. If I'm being honest, I thought it would take him until probably just before the Cardiff game to get that sort of performance. But the reaction's been instantaneous, and I'm all for it, but I'm not for the players that pretended to be injured to not play. But we'll go on to that shortly.
Allegedly. We should add allegedly in there, Danny.
Yeah.
Allegedly pretended to be injured.
Adam Castle says, what's Evans got to achieve for Mick to attend the last game of the season wearing a sombrero? Mick, fancy turning up against Cardiff in a sombrero?
Well, he answered the question in the question. If he wins his title this year, then I'll turn up in a sombrero.
Okay.
How about Mick, if we beat Bristol City?
First away win in like a million years.
Yeah.
Why would I celebrate it? We're
You
bottom of the
would've went
league.
home.
We're going down as bottom of the league. We have got nothing, zero zilch to celebrate this season.
First
Nothing.
away win. First away win since Sheffield United.
Not for me, mate. Not for me.
We'll celebrate it.
I will buy a sombrero to wear if we beat Bristol City.
To tell you something about the game, normally when in the last few weeks, last few months, we've kind of struggled to get these hours out that we're talking about football. I've got like 5 different things to talk about already. And that's the Steve Evans factor. I'm just doing something. And well, thanks, Steve. It's making our life much easier. Chris Taylor says just wish somebody could cross a ball, which is shocking. Yeah, Mick, let's talk about. Let's get the goal out of the way. Let's get the footballing incident out of the way before we talk about individuals. There was the offside goal, which Jay Stansfield scored, which took people at the time, I think, and afterwards criticised for the late flag. It wasn't a late flag. It was a conversation with the referee and the lines. But if you watch it back, and because of the camera, you probably can't see it. The liner has the flag ready to go instantly.
Yeah,
but
it does.
it can't give it because Keith Stroud's got to give him the instruction that the player was in the vision. It's a two-way street and that kind of thing. So I think everything was perfect. I think it was the right decision by the letter of the law. The officiating team have absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, they have 100%, and if it's given against you, you're always going to be very disappointed. Because the player didn't touch the ball, but he was clearly between the keeper and the striker of the ball and the path of the ball, and in an offside position. So you can't really argue with it. It's offside, and one of the probably 2 or 3 decisions, the key decisions in the game that they got right between them yesterday. So yeah, no, I think right decision, good call, really good call, and I think they operated well together in that instance. The liner and the referee, really good.
Yeah, they did. Phil says correct decision, and their forward actually jumped over the ball. Yeah, he did. But it's one of those that would have been very easy to get missed. There's so many bodies in the way. I feel like Tom, it would have been if that would have been missed, I'd have been fuming. I spotted it straight away, and I'd have been fuming. It would have been very easy for a referee to kind of miss that because if all he needed to be doing a yard wrong side and he's got a player who can't see it, it's an excellent decision.
Yeah, so rightfully so. We praise the ref because they did fantastically well, positioning, communication, everything was great. I personally didn't think it was offside when I first saw it. I didn't know what happened. It only took for the replays for me to realize, actually, this will happen. It was on the face. It's one of them. I think we got away with one. I think we really did. I think, although it is offside, it's poor defending. In fact, I don't think it was a foul in the build-up. Anyway, that's a different matter. But yeah, I don't know. It was very much a. It was a great call. Shame for all the fans that ran onto the pitch and probably have stadium bans or something now for nothing. For their club probably going down and joining us in League One. It will be it'll be interesting for them. But it's one of them. It just was offside. I guess nothing more to say on it really. But like you say, we've got to praise the ref in that scenario because he's done fantastically well. Or even though some other decisions were wrong, the biggest one in the game he got right, so he comes out of the game with a grade A because that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking it's similar to the Bamford one early in the season for Leeds. It's kind of where he is offside, but it was all kind of irrelevant because if the player wasn't stood in front of the keeper, Danny, the goal probably still goes in. It's very unlikely Mick to save that because the distance of the shot. So we just got lucky that one of their players has. They've not even switched off. I think the player's just got unlucky that he's sort of gone past the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I hate praising Keith Stroud, if I'm being honest, but I have to admit they've got the decision 100% correct because by the letter of the law, like we've said, it's offside because a player is in an offside position, impeding the view of the keeper. And what you've just said, Matt, is exactly what Gary Rowett said and why the goal should stand, which is like, no, because there's a player stood there, Gary. But I think, if memory serves, it's actually come off Lee Peltier's head into the path of Stansfield, who's hit it really well. And like you say, if their player isn't in the offside position, I don't think Victor saves it. Or if he does, it's an absolutely outstanding save, which, it is in Victor's repertoire. But anyway, but thankfully for us, their player is offside. And like the comments have said, he jumps over the ball. So he's in the eye line of the keeper. Impeding his vision of the ball's flight path, so therefore it is offside. And yeah, just to echo what you said, Tom, it's a shame that some of their fans have now got banning orders for jumping on the pitch due to a goal that was offside. Oh dear.
Anyway, but.
But I will say again, well done to the stewards who acted quickly, because one of their fans was going for the lino when he gave the offside.
Oh my god!
We're running towards him. Whether he was stupid enough to actually do something is another question. But it was running towards him.
You never know, do you? But I'm just happy it's it was given offside, because we're now the second worst team in Championship history this season.
Well, this Rotherham team is the second worst. Yeah. We've got a few more points.
Yeah, we've got first and second. So what's third? Yeah. Is it 26?
It's Blackpool on.
It might be 26. Whatever third place is, that's our target now.
Yeah, it will be, because we're now first, second, and fourth as things stand, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, let's be first, third, and fourth instead.
Yeah. So 23, not including this season, 23, 26, 29. Us were first and third. We're now first, second, and third. So yeah, 2 more points to equal and become. So yeah, you're right. Let's see what happens. We'll talk about that next week when we get through. Shelley says we showed a bit more fight and passion, and that's what we've been lacking. Was better than anything we've seen in a long time. Nicely hacks in his proper position. We'll come on to that. John Morell, the Birmingham fan, says evening all. Just a flying visit is out, but fair result in the end. Sadly. Fair on the end, sorry. He says, sadly, with our neighbours winning, it looks likely we'll see Birmingham again next season. I hope not. And somebody says, Adam Hardcastle, let's get some handsome Steve Hawaiian shirts. We didn't think about that, but I think we're going to go more original, aren't we? We've done the Matt Taylor Hawaiian shirt. I don't know what we could do for Steve Evans if he's successful next season, but there's got to be something.
Cheeseburger named after him.
There probably is. There probably already is. So get your ideas in. If we do well next season, we'll see what we can work out.
What about Steve Evans branded sun cream? Because it always seems to be bright red.
Yeah, I mean, he's already stole the sombrero idea, hasn't he? He's already used that, so we've got to think of something else other than that.
Steve Evans suspenders with his face on him.
True, we could do that. They're quite expensive. Wine shirt cost about £7 probably to make. So we'll see what we can think of. Mick,
yes,
you said that yesterday. Well, you didn't come in this match, but you said this a few times yesterday during the game, in the sense that what we did yesterday wasn't clever or special.
No.
And you basically said that anybody could have done what Steve Evans did yesterday, which I agree with 100%. You just take the lead off him and let him go. The question is, why is it taking Steve Evans to come in to get that type of performance out of these players? Because it does look so simple, doesn't it?
It is simple, isn't it? It is simple. And let's be fair, all of us on this podcast and everybody in the comments have all said exactly the same thing for much of the season, haven't we? Basically just take the lead off. Have a go, have a pop. Let's start pressing a bit higher up the pitch. Let's start putting balls into the box. All the things that we've been calling for, all us for here, everybody who's been on the podcast, everybody in the comments, is all that happened yesterday. We started pushing forward. We pressed higher up the pitch. We started putting balls in the box, and we started creating problems. That's all we've been asking for. So this is not some Steve Evans masterclass. All he's done is what any sane, normal person would do.
Next put the basics, just the basics.
The basics, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it's good that it's happened. The question is, why has it not happened previously? And that is a worry. That perhaps stems back from the start of the season when Matt Taylor is going out publicly saying that these players are not good enough for this division.
Yeah,
and it works from there on. I would guess. So, look, he's got a lot of work. He's got a lot of work to do, Evans, in order to make this team competitive for next season. Let alone, well, I mean, this season obviously is dead and buried. But he's got a lot of work to do to make this club competitive in that division next year. A lot of work. So, hopefully, that is an indication as to the way he intends to play.
Well, with Steve Evans, isn't it? That's
we know from previously. Yeah, that is part and parcel of what he expects from his team. But like Nick said, that is just the basics. There has to be more quality.
Yeah.
And you alluded to it, Matt. Sorry. You alluded to it at the beginning of this podcast, or I can't remember yourself, or Danny or Tom. On paper, these players are championship quality players. They are. We've said it all season. Nobody. Well, he seems to have been beaten out of them for whatever reason. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah. Harry says, would we have lost that game under Liam Richardson? He thinks yes, and I think yes as well.
Yeah.
Very confident we would have done. Shirley said, we're not saying we're world beaters, but it's all we've been asking for.
Yeah.
That's how low this season's been. That's how low our bar was. All we want to do is see a run around. That's it. Look how happy we are because our players ran around for 90 minutes or tried to run around for 90 minutes. Chris said also we left them out on the pitch for corners. People have been asking about it for about 8 years.
Yeah.
Tickler says, I could hear Rangers screaming to keep it narrow. Yeah, they did. And again, Tom, it's just nice to have those positive steps. And it's weird because Liam Richardson and Matt Taylor, they're not terrible managers, not terrible coaches. So what is it that's caused them to do this to this team? Is it the thinking? Do you think it's a kind of defeatist mentality that little old Rotherham? Is it just Big Steve just coming as like sod this? Just go on, lads, and express yourself.
It's a great question because like you say, they're both intelligent guys, but they aren't very captivating. They aren't very present. Yeah. They've not got a presence about them. They're not leaders. They're not. They're just intelligent footballing bodies.
Thinkers, aren't they? Rather than
thinkers. Yeah, and we think, oh, that might work tactically, but God, it really petered out and didn't. You couldn't see what Richardson wanted to do with this team. It had no vision. It had no identity. It had no anything. And like you say, I think it's extremely harsh to blame to put on someone that they've got a defeatist mentality, but it definitely was a roll over and accept mentality. It wasn't I might have just been describing the same thing, but it was definitely it's definitely more of an Richardson definitely came in with the presence of, right, this season is done. I'm going to look for next season. Whatever happens this season happens. You guys just go out and play. Try not to get injured. Do this, that, and the other. Let's just see out the season and we'll go again next season. Whereas, and Taylor was, I don't know, Taylor just wasn't a personality, was he? He never spoke to them before going out on the pitch. He wasn't a very, he didn't give them big team talks. He was just kind of there and you guys know what you need to do. You guys fire yourselves up, and if you don't have that presence in the changing rooms, then who's going to do it? It has to be the manager. So yeah, the change up with Evans is probably what personality is what they needed, but it's yet to be seen. It's yet to be seen. But that's all that you can ask for from a manager, is to be a leader and to be a motivator. The players have to do the playing. Weirdly enough, Matt Taylor can't get on the pitch and tell them where to be at all points. What blade of grass to be on when the ball's on the section, top left, whatever. It's so tough in those situations to be dead on. Unless you're with the club for 5, 6, 7 years and all the players are drilled in what they need to know. And it seems like Evans has come in and just big them up, made them trust themselves, their abilities. Still can't cross the ball, but that's down to quality rather than it is inspiration and motivation. Yeah, it's yet to be seen. We'll see if, because these are still Matt Taylor's players. It's yet to be seen if Evans gets his players in, and we can run, cross, compete. Yeah, it might be a different Rotherham United you're looking at this time next year.
Well, it will be. It definitely will be. Shelley says Rain never moved, as I mentioned, from the technical area, shouting and screaming constantly. Yeah, he's a big part of it, isn't he? Rain, he's a huge part of this team. I suspect without Evans, there won't be a Rainer. Without Rainer, there won't be an Evans. I think that's how important they are to the cause.
It's a bit like Warne and Richie Barker, really, isn't it?
I think it probably is, yeah. But it obviously two different extremes, aren't there? You know, Warne is an outgoing character, but has a nice outgoing look. He's Mr. Nice Guy, whereas Steve Evans is Mr. Nasty and everybody hates pantomime villain kind of guy. Isn't he?
I think the cut from the same cloth in terms of being a football manager. It's just Evans is more volatile than Paul Warne.
Yeah, they just do it different ways, don't they?
Yeah.
The end result is basically the same, but the way they get to the end result is just different.
I think
not to his liking.
I think the main difference between the three managers that we've had this season is that Evans is definitely more, like you say, personality and fans base. You know, his mentality, certainly for the Birmingham game, was do it for the fans. You know, Matt Taylor seemed to be very tactics based. You know, he knew which system he wanted to play, and he knew how to go forwards with it. But I don't think he understood the Rotherham mentality. You know, our mentality is to, like you said earlier, run around and try absolute hardest, leave everything on the pitch. And then I think Liam Richardson is kind of similar. You know, he knows the way he wants to play and he's very rigid with it. So it's just a complete difference of mentalities. Like Evans has been here once before. I'm still not convinced he's the right appointment. I will put that out there because still ifs and maybes going back to a former manager, but at least he gets what the club's all about because he's been here before. Yeah, I just hope it can be a longer term fix rather than get us back up again and then reassess. I want someone with a bit more commitment to the longer term. I think who can build something.
Yeah, I agree. Kelly Club says Rain has not changed. He did that 10 years ago. Something to watch out for as well. Anybody watched Rotherham the first time around. Whenever we score a goal at the kickoff, if you watch Paul Rayner, he's every single time he's getting get the ball back, get every single time we scored a goal last time. So watch out for that. If we score a goal this season, which is not likely. Let us talk. I'm going to go through a couple of comments first. Adam Hardcastle says, for a team like us, you need top players we can't afford, or top coaches which we can't afford, or motivators. Unfortunately, the previous two managers aren't top coaches. They seem like motivators. Evans is. Nathan Country says Liam Richardson was too honest with them, maybe. Evans has bigged them up, as you mentioned, Tom, and got more out of them. That seems to be the way. Let us talk about the injured players, Danny. Get your tinfoil hats on, guys. There was several players that turned up that we thought were injured. Now, in fairness, we hadn't heard whether these players were suspected to be injured for the season or not. You know, Kyoso, Hugo, or Grant Hall, who was murmuring as the season was done. Kyoso did come off injured, so that does maybe seem like he was actually injured, Danny. Hugo played most of the game, and obviously Grant Hall was on the bench and didn't come on. Are you tinfoil hat? These guys are a disgrace because they pretend to be injured, or is it something else? Do you think they were actually back fit this weekend? I think it's the manner in which, just bouncing off what Liam Richardson said, it's the manner of which they've presented it. Like Liam Richardson said, you know, certain people haven't made themselves available, but these players suddenly made themselves available for a new manager. And in my football ideology brain, you make yourself available if the team needs you because it's a team sport. And they didn't make themselves available when they could have done, when it could have helped. But as soon as Evans come in, we see Kyoso back in starting 11, same with Hugo. All right, fair enough, they've gone off injured, and maybe hindsight says if they came back earlier, then they would have been available and not as available, etc. But it's just a bit sharp that suddenly new manager. Oh, I can play, Gaffer. You know, it's a bit. The one person who I think's been openly honest is Tahi, because he's the one who said he's out for the season, and then they all went, no, you're not, and it's like, well,
will he play another game this season? He might squeak the Cardiff game, possibly. But like with Hall, we all thought his season was done. We wouldn't see him again. But then suddenly he's on the bench, as maybe he was a bench filler, I don't know. But suddenly his name's there. Same with Kyoso. Kyoso didn't make his name available at all. And the new manager comes in, it's a bit sharp that he's suddenly in the starting 11. You know, he could have played somebody else out there. He could have played Siriki out there, just as an example, and have Kyoso on the bench, but he was straight into the starting 11. Same with Hugo. You could have had Eves started Eves and have Hugo on the bench. But no, he was straight into the starting 11. So it's a bit, what's Evans been seeing in training? Have they put a shift in suddenly rather than just hopping about? I don't know. It just smells a bit funny to me. I'm not saying it's a one way or other. It just smells a bit funny.
It does. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we don't know, do we? That's the first thing to say. We're never going to know whether any of these players have refused to play or have pretended to be injured or whatever. We can only speculate realistically as to whether or not they have. But you know, there's plenty of red flags there, aren't there? When you look at it, you know, the previous manager indicating that players are not making themselves available, and the second that the same day that a new manager comes in, 2 or 3 of them are back in training and starting the next game. So the implication from that is that they've been swinging lead, essentially, just waiting for the season to taking the money and waiting for the season to finish. Whether that's right or not, we will never ever know. What I would say is, if it is right, I'd be saying to him, pick your dummy up and find yourself another club. Get out, because it is I cannot think of a set of circumstances where it can be right that just because you don't like your boss, you say, I'm not working anymore. I'm just going to put my feet up and not do it. Why would anybody want somebody with that kind of attitude in the club? It absolutely stinks if that is the case.
Yeah.
And it certainly appears that way. So for me, the new management team will know what's happened. And if any of those players that haven't made themselves available are now making themselves available, they should be out.
Evans is no idiot, is he? He won't fall for that either, will he? He
won't fall for it unless it's going to benefit him. And that's the thing that's one of the things with Steve Evans. You know, integrity is not a strong point in the Steve Evans world. And that particular subject is all about having the balls to stand up and say, no, I am not going to employ people who are likely to do that at some stage down the line. Out. I don't think he will do that, because if he thinks he can get some benefit out of it,
for us, it benefits the club, though. Benefit for him is benefit the club, isn't it?
If it benefits the club, it benefits him.
Yeah.
So, and for me, that's where that would go. So I think we'll probably see Hugo next season. My opinion is, based on what I've said, we shouldn't. He should be out. He should be out the door. If he falls into that category that we just talked about. So, but we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Martin knows if a pro player refuses to play, does the club have the right to refuse paying his wages? So it's complicated. So if you listen to what Paul Warne said a few years ago, that all players play with essentially a niggle nowadays in football.
Yeah.
So he's not necessarily refusing to play. He's just, again, reading between some lines and sort of guessing here, I would have guessed it's just that the niggle's too bad and they can't play through the niggle. So you're not refusing to play. You are injured. You could play through the niggle, but you're choosing not to play through the niggle. So you're not refusing to play. So there's no breach of contract, but it smells a bit iffy. Is how I'm reading it and how I'm guessing it's working down. That might be way off. That's just speculation.
Well, yeah, it just seems like a lack of wanting to play rather than a lack of being able to play. It seems like I am injured. I don't really want to play, so don't put me on the bench. Whereas, you know, the stories of Smith getting injections in his feet for half a season and, you know, because they want to play. They want to actually be there. They want to actually play for the manager, for the club, for the fans. There's just none of that. And I don't think any of them are faking injuries, because that is absurd. And I think, I think that's absolutely absurd to think. I think all of them do have injuries. To the extent to which they can't play is probably where you're questioning them. I think whether or not, Kyoto came off injured, he probably shouldn't have played yesterday. Hugo looked fine. Hall probably wasn't fit. He maybe fine. Yeah, exactly. He never is. So there's that matter. But yeah, it's the motivation. It comes back to the motivation and the desire to play, and none of them were bothered. Season's done. Why am I going to try and get myself more injured? It's like if you hate your job and someone said, "Well, you can have sick leave for 10 days." Oh, yeah, all right then. You take it. You're giving an out. They've taken the out, and that sums them up as people. If that's the case, and then for them to come back, it might be a case of, look, you just have to do it. You have to crack on. But yeah, like you say, Mick, it from previous interviews with Richardson, it seems like that's the case. Players not making themselves available, and then suddenly the players that were injured are now available. It seems like that case, but all alleged.
Yeah, well, exactly. It would also suggest weak management on behalf of Liam Richardson.
Yeah, I agree.
Stronger management on behalf of Evans. Yeah, which you would expect. That's what you would expect looking at the two characters. I'd be interested to see what Matt Taylor would have done, because he'd have had to consult his textbook, wouldn't he, and see what his textbook told him he needed to do under those sorts of circumstances. But, yeah, somewhere. Just bear with me a minute while I just.
The one thing I've noticed from this, I would have loved to have seen how Steve Evans handled the Ayala situation.
Oh, wouldn't it have been glorious?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the one shame that he didn't come in earlier, is that I wanted to see him handle the Ayala situation. Lord knows what would have happened with that.
It's a shame we released him.
Yeah.
I think he'd have still been playing for us.
I think he would.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think he'd have been performing well as well.
Do you remember Claude Davis?
Yeah.
Anybody doesn't remember Claude Davis? Steve Evans signed him in League One the season after the League Two promotion. And I can't remember why, but we all hated Claude Davis. I can't remember why when he came in, nobody liked him. But on his debut, he got 2 yellow cards before half time and got sent off, and was an absolute liability. And he didn't play for a little bit, but then he came back in and was an absolute mountain, because Evans just kind of worked out how to use him and how to manage him. Whereas I think Liam Richardson just cut the cord, didn't he? I know there were injury issues, but that's one of Steve Evans' strengths. If the player is workable with, Steve Evans is quite good at finding a way to work with them, rightly or wrongly. Mick's not buying that.
Right, listen, I am, and I'll tell you what. I'm just sat there thinking while you were talking. You look at you've got Steve Evans on one side of the divide, if you like, as a manager, a person manager. I can't say man manager anymore, can I? You know what I mean? Football manager. And then you've got your Liam Richardsons and your Matt Taylors on the other side, and you've got these are young managers who've got all these new ideas, all these pep ideas that this is how football must be played, because they've been taught it in university or they've been taught it wherever. Steve Evans, on the other hand, is old school. He's a shouty. I'm going to get you to play. I'm going to feed you whatever BS you need feeding in order to motivate you. So and whereas the other two aren't going to do that, they're just going to tell you what the book says. If you can merge the two together, then you've got an unbelievable manager. And I think what you'll find is that these young managers that are getting further in the game, the lad who's at Luton and Paul Warren, to be fair, have got a mixture of both. They've got a mixture of both where they can motivate a person psychologically and also have the tactics and everything else to go with it. Unfortunately, we've gone from one extreme to the other, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see how it pans out, because things may well change. And should Alex Ravel come in, hopefully, I suspect he might fill that void, that gap in between the shouty man and they thinky man.
Yeah, the modern day coach kind of thing.
Yeah.
Phil says, I think whatever Steve Evans does, Mick will find a negative. That sounds like a challenge, Mick. And if anybody could fulfill that challenge, you are the man for that, to be fair.
Listen, that into challenge, that is falling off a log, that, isn't it? I mean, come on. If you're gonna think of a challenge, find somebody. It literally is shooting fish in a barrel. That. It's just, I mean, come on.
Andrew Lang says Evans clearly rates Hugo and was full of praise from after the game. He seems like an Evans type player, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him next season. Andrew Taylor says he agrees. There hasn't been lots of service, but Hugo had chances, so many headers blasted over the bar. He also spends half the time on the floor. Danny, I thought you had a good game yesterday, Hugo, and we'll come on to some individual performances now. Something we've criticised Hugo for, well, many things we've criticised Hugo for, is that he holds onto the ball way, way too long. But yesterday, he was able to take a quick touch, lay it off. There were even a couple of one-touch layoffs. And that, if he can do that, that then takes him to a bit of a next level because that link-up play is there. And I don't know whether that's Steve Evans, again, just telling them to relax and play their own natural game or whether it's a plan. But it wasn't amazing. But that was much better from Hugo.
I think the way Hugo played sort of suited the formation we played because Paul Davis at the Advertiser has us noted down as a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
And in a 4-4-2, you normally have one striker who like lays it off and runs a bit more and holds up the ball a little bit. Maybe that's the job Hugo was told to do. And because normally he sort of thrives on service from out wide, but if Rain is saying play narrow, that tends to mean that Hugo's going to have to be on the ball a little bit, holding it up or laying it off or whatever. And maybe he's played well because he just got more of the ball by going through the middle a bit more in the 4-4-2. And Evans has said that he was effectively on the floor in the dressing room after the game. So, can't knock him for effort. But again, why wasn't he making himself available beforehand and putting in this effort? That's the one little thing that's dangling over Hugo. And I agree, if Evans likes him, he will try his hardest to keep him. It's just, does Hugo want to drop down to League One and take the wage cut that's in his contract? That's down to him. But I don't know if Evans has sold him playing a different sort of game where he'll see more of the ball like he has done against Birmingham. You never know. But if Hugo plays, hypothetically, if he is still here next season, he plays like that and sees more of the ball and ventures forward on the odd occasion rather than just waiting for service, he will be a good player next season.
The thing with someone like Hugo is that if he stays with us next season, that's a big if, and Steve Evans likes him enough to play, he'll have the time of his life in League One. He'll have the making of all those stupid defenders in League One that are not really clever enough to deal with somebody like Hugo. He'll win loads of fouls. His movement's not terrible. He'll get a load more chances than he does this season. If he's willing to take the pay cut, I think he'll have a great season in League One. There's lots of ifs and buts in there, Mick, but do you agree? Am I talking nonsense? Do you agree with that?
I should make him take pay cut. He's one of the reasons we're at bottom of the league.
I mean, it's in his contract.
I'm sorry, but you had the opportunity with the rest of the team to keep us well away from the position that we're in now. And for whatever reason, that opportunity wasn't taken. Now, well, let's not go into all that again, but I think he'll do all right in League One. I don't think he'll want to drop down, to be honest. So I think if an offer comes in, I think we'll be foolish not to take it, to be honest with you, to boost the coffers, albeit I don't think we're going to get a great deal for him, but we will get something. So
maybe off wages, won't it?
Yeah. So let's wait and see. That's for the summer chat, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
As to what's going to happen there.
Yeah, it was. Let's talk about a couple of other individual players. Ollie Rathbone got man of the match. Sunday sponsors man of the match. I think he won the poll on Twitter as well. Ollie was back. Ollie Rathbone was absolutely back. And I think we said on Thursday that Ollie Rathbone's a Steve Evans kind of player. And he just did it. Ollie was the epitome of just take the lead off and let them go. And that's all Ollie did. I just thought it was, again, let's ignore his crossing because that's not what we're paying him to do, really, if realistically. But everything else about his game was kind of where we want it to be, and that was the best Ollie Rathbone's been maybe this season.
Yeah. He was immense. I think he was helped out by Minamoto having a good game as well. Thought he was really good. But yeah, he kept to the basics, which I think is the key term that we keep going back to. He was harried, hustled, was everywhere, really mentally everywhere. Like you kind of past couple games when he's not been himself, you kind of forget how good he is when he is himself, and when how impactful he is. He doesn't have to. He's one of those players that we're saying about the team now. He doesn't have to be technically good. He doesn't have to have a good game, but he can still be impactful based on what he does, because he makes opposition players make a mistake. He could be on the ball. He could get 3 touches in a game, but because he works so hard, he puts the opposition under so much pressure, they're bound to make a mistake. And yeah, it's a shame he can't cross, or he can't, but none of them can. Honestly,
No.
it's ridiculous how none of
them. At least he's taking them. He's setting his hand up to take it, isn't he?
Yeah, at least there's a bit of bravery in that regard. I think that's definitely a look first top of the checklist next season as someone who could set piece taker. But yeah, no, he was immense. He was really, really good. And like I said, I think he was helped out by Adolphin being back in midfield. I think that was a pleasant surprise, and really good. Really good decision. And Minamoto having a great game as well. He's someone again that I'd look at in summer. I think he's a fantastic player. I really do, and he's still relatively young. Yeah, he's got a lot to offer. It's not quite got a balance, that midfield. It's quite a lot. It's three players who will run a lot, challenge a lot, but there's not a lot of structure to them. I don't know if anyone else can see that. It's a bit off balance. There's no attack. But yeah, Hacks, Ollie, and Thierry next season in League One under Evans will be immense. Hopefully, I knew Huh?
So that's somebody can take a few set pieces, don't we? Out of that, there's no quality dead ball in that.
Oh, we'll just find a left back or right back or someone who can do it. But it makes you look forward to seeing us next season, because it lifts the crowd, it lifts everyone's mood when a big challenge comes in, or there's a harry or a hassle. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Kiwi says 5 to 10 grand a week and can't cross a ball. Yeah. It's not some people's strengths.
Well, they cross balls better than we ever can, can't they?
Well, there is that as well, yeah. But yeah, we didn't sign Ollie Rathbone to take corners, did we?
No.
What we asked him to do when he came in. You're not asking, Lee Peltier to keep up with striker pace-wise, are you? You're asking him to do something else in the defensive role. But again, he's trying. He's trying, and that's all we kind of want, really, at this point in the season. Another bit of praise, Danny, is for Seb Revan, who I like him week by week. I'm really loving him. And that moment at the end, it just had it written as well. The Villa loanee against Birmingham in the 96th minute or whatever it was. He's so versatile, Revan. If we could get him back next season, I think he's matured so much from day one when we signed him. He's come along an incredible amount. I just really like him every minute.
Yeah, he's matured so much. He just needs to bulk up just a little bit strength-wise, because I think that's the one thing that is lacking, is just his strength, and he gets out-muscled a little bit too often. But yesterday, it was sort of like a perfect storm, because it was on the up anyway towards the end of Richardson's tenure, and to bring in Evans has obviously noticed that as well with him in training. And yeah, he put in a very decent shift. I'd say not as big of a shift as Ollie, because he seemed to run everywhere. But Revan was certainly on it. And like you say, if we get him on loan again next season, he'll be a real asset on either the left or the right hand side, because he can play both. It's just, will Villa let us loan him out again, or will they want him to move up in the Championship again? Maybe Birmingham getting relegated might be a seller, so he can actually score a goal against them as the Villa loanee. But yeah, like I say, it very nearly all came together. The stars nearly aligned, but much like our season, it wasn't meant to be in the end. But I'd love him back next season. Like I say, he's matured so much, and he can only go up from here, I think. Yeah.
He can actually cross the ball as well. I'm surprised he's not taking.
Yeah, I mean, he's not quite a Ben Pringle.
No,
but out of all of them, I mean, we signed Cafu as one of the set piece takers, and he's got a better cross than Cafu has.
Yeah. Harry points out that Villa are having close to some financial fair play issues, so they might sell him. But we're not going to pay. If they want £1 million for Sebrevin, we're not going to pay £1 million, are we? For example, as an example. So it depends if somebody at Championship's going to take a risk. Because again, £1 million, I mean, is a risk. Bear in mind, it's only one season in a bad team. Tom mentioned a minute ago, Mick, Hakeem Odoffin back where he should be. And I don't think he had an amazing game in terms of his own individual performance, but it helped so much. Because when we're taking those goal kicks and knocking the ball long, they had 3 attackers to think about. They had to Mark Hewlett, they had to Mark Nombe, and Odoffin were just sort of in behind. So then it created a bit more space for Inamoto to do a bit more work as well. He just helped everybody in the team, and it's just that was one of the best things about yesterday in terms of the setup was Odoffin back where he should be, because he's just a threat. Even when he's not playing well, he's still a threat. Mick.
Oh, I thought you said Tom.
No.
At
least Tom was listening.
Yeah. Yes, you're absolutely right, Matthew.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah, no, it's great to see him back up there. He causes lots and lots of problems. He had a couple of iffy moments where he was trying to do some nice little Cruyff turns and one or two other things where he ended up losing the ball, but he got his legs tangled up. But listen, I'll find some positive to say about Steve Evans. He has put Hakeem Odoffin exactly where he should be playing. No other manager this season either has had the will or the option to do that. Well, they have had the option because nothing's changed in terms of defence. So, he's done a proper job there. He's identified where he should be playing and played him there. For one thing I will say about Evans, he is not a man for putting square pegs in round holes.
Well, with Connor Salmon on wing.
All right, apart from Connor Salmon, let's gloss over Connor Salmon, because I think as Rotherham fans, we all probably want to gloss over Connor Salmon. When you've got somebody with the ability that Hakeem Odoffin has and the impact that he can have on a game, then you're playing where he needs to be played, where he's got the ability, and that is bang on. Good move, that positive.
Yeah. Phil says thanks, Mick, for I think he's a positive about Steve Evans.
No worries, Phil.
I knew we'd weigh you down, mate. I didn't realise it was second episode after his. Listen.
You ain't wearing me down, mate. It's going to take a lot more than that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Still not the right decision.
That's us never getting Steve Evans on podcast, and it's up for hell.
Listen, I need to stay relevant, mate.
There were people asking where you were at instant reaction. I didn't comments. There were people wondering where you were, whether you just done one. It was the cameraman for the day.
I think if we get Evans on the podcast, we'll just have Mick sat in the corner with a muzzle on.
Chris says, "Now I'm dreaming." Mick with positive Evans comments. Come on with a couple. We'll come with a couple. Nick says,
sorry, where was the comment about Mick always finding a negative with Steve Evans? He's found a positive now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's Christmas come early. Nick says Hacks plays anywhere. He's just brilliant. That's another player. Right says need to get contracted.
Mm-hmm.
Actually give him a new contract. Don't just activate that.
Interesting to see this, Tom, because we know what Paul was like with contracts. It was maybe a little too soft on the players. He let them run it. He let contracts run out badly. Matt Taylor was a bit more aggressive. For example, the Victor contract, he managed to get Victor to sign a contract, but there's a huge concession because now Victor's going to leave for nowhere near his value. It'll be interesting to see which route. We've never had this problem under Evans first time. We never really had any assets, really. Because they're all short-term loans. They're all loans, weren't they? Short-term contracts.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting now we've got assets like Hakeem Odoffin, Ollie Rathbone, Cam Humphreys. All three of those, after we activate contracts, they will only have a year left on their contracts. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether he thinks, right, we've got to cash in because they're not going to sign. Is he going to try and force them to sign a contract? This next step for Evans is new for us. And it's really interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, but like you say...
Kyoso as well.
Yeah. Like you say, it seems like previous previous management, one included, was a bit soft when it came to players, and being able to not say no to a player. If they come back and say, "Oh, well, agents mainly, we want this guarantee," stamp. I think a lot of previous management and whatnot would have said no, but not in a way of like, no, but we do want you, so we want to do this instead. That there was, I don't know, maybe there was no compromise. It was, if no was taken as if agent or player said no, I don't want to stay, it was that was it, done. Whereas we've said it before, if Evan wants, Evans gets. So if he wants a player, he'll get him one way or another. I don't think it's tough to say. I don't think the Victor contract would have had a clause in it. I can't see that there'd be a Warren did well with a lot of contract extensions, so I'll get you can give him that, or the team behind him who did that. But like I said, it's Evans wants, Evans gets. So whatever happens, if he wants that player, chances are they will sign. Just depends if he wants them. Who knows if he even wants Hacks or Rathbone? Just because we want them as fans and we've seen them for. He'd be stupid not to. Don't get me wrong, but who's to say that he even does want them? We will see. Like you're saying, let's just hope that we don't have 10 short-term loans come in over the space of 10 weeks.
I bet we do.
Yeah, I bet we do. All part and parcel. Never would have found James Tavernier would not have been highest scoring British defender if not for Steve Evans.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mixed experiences. Another positive for Evans, we kept Nombe up halfway line for the corner, but for Birmingham corner, not something not seen for years. That is a positive. Then let's talk about Nombe, because I thought it was one of the few that struggled.
Great segue.
He struggled, Danny, for me. And I don't know whether he was trying a bit too hard, because there was a couple of times where you just thought either release the pass or take the shot, and he took an extra touch, and that extra touch was rubbish, or whether he's just really struggling. He was one that didn't. He was one of the only that didn't really take that step up in performance on Saturday compared to previous.
No, he sort of had the same performance level as the last game, I think, and because everybody else was so behind, that made him look like he was putting a shift in. But I don't know, maybe it's because Nombe, his style of play doesn't suit the 2; it more suits the 3 with him out wide or in a more of a position where he can get onto the ball. So maybe if we played like a 4-4-1-1, for example. But no, I agree. But then all the players can't have absolutely exceptional games, and and maybe Nombe is the one that only improved by 20%. Maybe everybody else was in the 30s or so.
Yeah.
But I do really want to see how Evans approaches Nombe next season, to see how we will utilise him. Because there is a decent player there, we've just not tapped it yet. Maybe Evans is the person to get it out of him, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Nick's just said Nombe isn't a championship player. I mean, even when Matt Taylor signed him, he even said he's going to take him a bit to get up to speed, and part of me feels like he never really did, because there's been a lot of upheaval since he came in. And maybe next season, we sort of know that Evans is going to be the manager for the whole of next season, don't we?
Well, yeah. I think
so. Barring an absolute calamity.
I can't see a circumstance where Tony Stewart sacks him, to be honest.
No, unless we're 21st after 10 games.
Even then.
But so I think that little bit more stability, we might see a bit more from Nombe next season. But I think the upheaval and especially some fans' reactions to him as well, he's just not settled, I think, and he's probably a player that lacks his confidence. And he's not
goal,
he needs a goal, and how many has he scored this season? 2, 3 at most.
I think so. One bounced off him, didn't it? With Swansea, it just bounced off him.
Ipswich,
I think so. Yeah.
Ipswich as well.
There we go. So I hope he scores again this season, but we only 2 games left. I can't really see it. I think out of everybody who's going to score, it's going to be Rathbone, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree. Shall I ask about relegation clause? I think he's referring to the Victor. Can't we just up the relegation clause figure for Victor? You can if Victor agrees to it. But if I'm Victor's agent, I'd be locking him in a room to make sure he doesn't sign that contract to up that clause. Because he's going to be going to a very good club for not much money, doubling his wages or whatever it might be. So yeah, we could ask the question, but yeah. I don't know what laugh out loud. I don't know what LOL would be in Swedish, but it'd be probably.
Tobias, have a word.
We have Richard GM99, who's a Stevenage fan. He says, how Steve Evans surprised him. As a Stevenage fan, he managed to cover a quality in each position, changed the team constantly in response to the opposition, and it worked. It was excellent at substitutions. Surprise part 2, he says, 3 subs at a time regularly. Players loved him. The captain used to mow his lawn. Because that's a Neil Warnock thing, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We went Stevens last time. It was only 3 subs, wasn't it? So it's going to be interesting to see how he used it was hamstrung by the injuries in the first half.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting to see how he deals with the subs. Harry mentions that Coyote is refusing to play for Carlisle. I haven't seen that. We'll look at that when we talk about that on Thursday. From our point of view, from the Rotherham point of view, being ultra selfish, it's not necessarily a bad thing because they're already relegated, and it stops him getting further injured. From a professional point of view, it doesn't sound great. But we don't know the ins and outs of that one. He's been carrying injury for a long time, hasn't he, JJ?
Yeah.
How long's Kelso got left on his contract? Is it just a year or is it
Another year he signed, didn't he?
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he signed the extension before we went to Carlisle.
Yeah.
Remember the deadline day when he went and we were all shocked, weren't we? So let's see what happens with that. I don't know. We all hope he can be a really useful player in League One. We just don't know. Have we got anything else we need to mention, lads? I feel like we have, but I can't think what it is.
I thought Apaya played well. Just thought I'd put that out there. I think he was,
Yes.
Mick
Mick called that, by the way.
Yeah, I did.
Nick called him when he came on. He says there's a player in there, and me and the guy we sit next to went, "Yeah, when's it going to turn up?" And he kind of turned up a little bit.
Look, listen, he's been pilloried by a lot of fans this season, and undeservedly so. He's not had an opportunity to play more than 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
In any game, virtually. He may have started a couple, but he's not stayed on for long. And whenever he's started, he's played out of position.
Shelley says here, further forward.
Yeah, 100%. He's a player. There's no doubt about it. But unfortunately, we're never going to see it. He's going to be back to, is it Alaves that he came from? And then
Almeria, I think, is it?
He's getting released.
Is it?
And they'll sell him on to whoever.
He's out of contract there. He's out of contract at the end of the season. So
Take him in League One.
He's a winger.
Yeah.
One of those things that we've been screaming and crying out for
yeah, I know.
all season.
Yes.
He's a winger. But unfortunately, nobody's had the gumption to play him in the position that he's best at. For whatever reason. And again, let me be positive about Steve Evans. He brought him on Saturday as a winger. And lo and behold, he played all right, played well.
Yeah, he did. I agree.
2-1 episode. I'm glad I'm sat down.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
No, the bottom line is, it goes back to what Nick said earlier on at the beginning of this, in the comments at the beginning of this episode. Basics. Just the basics.
Yeah. Scott Kent, he can't cross mind. No. Who can at this football club?
We've not really seen that, have we? I mean, again, from what I've seen of him, I agree with Scott, but there
was a cross last season. I don't know whether it was against Plymouth or somebody else, but I'm pretty sure it's still going over Rotherham somewhere.
It's joined Kane's penalty in orbit.
Yeah, exactly. Couple more things to mention. Tom, you didn't go to the Rotherham game yesterday. You went elsewhere. Tell everybody where you went on Saturday afternoon.
I went to go watch our good friend Matt Taylor, Bristol Rovers, and I can safely say that the football does not change. It was not Rotherham that was the issue, football wise. It was a half press mixed in with a half trying to play out from the back and then straight down the touchline. It wasn't a pretty sight, and they lost 2-0 to Peterborough, who are a very, very good side.
Yeah.
Played some really good football, especially for League One. Really comfortable on the ball, and it was their B team for all intents and purposes as well. So, very, very impressed with Borough. Not very impressed with Bristol Rovers, unfortunately. Yeah.
And we're going to be playing them next season. That's going to be fun.
I know.
You might not be there by then. You never know. Funny old place. Mick, do you have any comment on the Nottingham Forest situation from today?
No,
Mr. Referee man. Would you like to have a comment on it?
Look, well, I mean, I've seen the tweet from Nottingham Forest, which official Nottingham Forest account, which quite frankly seems to have been hijacked by either my clone or a 12-year-old. I'm not sure which. I mean, yeah, I understand why they're upset. I understand why they're frustrated. But Stuart Atwell's on there. You are not going to get a rational, thought-out decision from Atwell. He is completely he's completely off the wall, isn't he, in terms of his decision making. So, I mean, I've only seen one of them, where the Everton player goes through the back of the. It's an absolute nailed-on penalty. So I understand why they're upset, but swings and roundabouts in it because they should never have been promoted because of the shocking decision making on VAR in the playoff semi-final, playoff final last year, whenever it was. So it is swings and roundabouts. I would say.
Yeah. If anybody's seen a shootout referee, I don't think you could ever call him to question his integrity. He's just rubbish.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, he kind of seems to be a real outlier. If ever there's a really controversial VAR decision, it's always Atwell. Always. And we've seen
He wasn't on VAR for semi-final, was he?
No, I don't think he was. But that was that's
horrendous.
Devastating.
Sorry to stop you mid-flow, mate. Carry on.
No. He's been like it throughout his career, hasn't he?
Yeah. There's a ghost goal, wasn't there? So
the ghost goal, obviously, that kind of started it off, and he's not really recovered from that, has he?
No, he hasn't.
But let's turn that around. Keith Stroud yesterday had two big decisions.
Yes.
Two big decisions to make, and he got them both bang on.
Yes.
I'm not going to. I mean, yes, there were some that were completely inexplicable.
Some mad yellow cards as well, weren't there?
The yellow cards that came on for is where that came from is just beyond me.
Yeah.
I mean, he tackled the ball and got a yellow card for it.
That was Lino, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Lino. But the two decisions he had to make, one obviously to stop the game because of the emergency in the stand.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And then obviously the goal. So, yeah, those two. Kadowski, Stroud. Can't believe I'm saying that.
But we should have had a pen. I think we should have had a pen. Probably was at the end. Yeah, maybe I haven't got time for this. We've already gone quite long. But I think you should have had a pen. So, Keith, rubbish.
Mind you, even I can't believe I'm praising him, but 2 out of 3 is not bad for Keith Stroud, is it?
Yeah, let's see what we get next Saturday. Are we thinking? Are we Gavin Ward next Saturday and Bobby Madley for last home game?
We need Madley there. We've only had him once.
Yeah.
God, if we have Madley for home, well, you know what our track record against teams in blue is when Bobby Madley's referee. It'll be an absolute madness. There'll be 6 red cards, 14 yellows. And he'll backtrack on a decision and give Cardiff a corner when it should have been a penalty.
Yeah. Richard, the Sydney fans, surprise number 3. He says touchline bans were frequent, and that's not a surprise.
No, that's not a surprise.
He got one for us within about 3 games of being here. But he says defensively superb. They had 19 clean sheets, various formations, commonly a diamond. We played with a diamond yesterday, and super fit players. That's something you could tell yesterday. These players are not fit enough. They can't play this way. Ollie was towing, and Ollie's one of the fittest. Like last season, Ollie was the one we could go all night. Like it wasn't there fitness wise. So that's
again, Matt Taylor.
Chris says, "What a strange podcast. Positive Evans comments, Stroud praise, and we didn't lose." Oddness. Mick Speed, we get Darren Bond. That is a great shout. Could be old.
Oh no! Again, we've had him. Oh,
too many times.
We're going to finish on. People may know that Ben sometimes comes on this podcast. He's been absent recently. We'll probably have him on in a couple of weeks. Actually, he might be back. Mick, this is where I hand over to you, to where we shout out Ben today for beating up some blokes from Bristol at American football.
Yeah. He's finishing. He's finished his academy, and this is his last year at the NFL academy. And today was his last game, which I think they kind of won, didn't they? You know,
50-7.
It's there's a tweet on the somewhere from one of the ex-players on there. I'll retweet it later on. The coach of the team that they're playing, they were absolutely just slating the academy's team, absolutely slating them, saying how poor they were. Anyway, 45-6 later, Ben
was happy. He replied to our group. I put a group chat saying congratulations, beating him, and he just sent back a Jimmy Vardy message about chatting some get banged away.
Yeah. His final game today, and he's captain the side today. So, well done, Ben. Good work. And,
he won't be watching.
He'll not be watching. We'll see what the next chapter brings in.
Yeah. We'll get back
where would you like the next chapter to bring in, Mick?
Well, I don't know. It's up to him, isn't it? Hopefully, it'll be Europe. I would think next year sometime. So we might have some away days in Germany or wherever.
Germans do nice beer.
They do nice beer.
When we play football, we sample some lovely German beer.
Exactly. We need to convince them.
Anyway, let's end before people fall asleep at the thought of American football. Let's end it. Any last shout, boys? Anything else we need to mention that's Rotherham related or not? What do we want? Okay.
Coventry.
Cool. Well done. Unlucky commiserations to Coventry because that was almost incredible. It was incredible. 3-0 down. That's ridiculous. I'm going to sit down and work this out, but I'm pretty sure there's a way that I can work us out to be the best team in the world.
Oh God!
What?
Well, bear with me. So, Manchester City are world champions.
Oh God!
Aston Villa beat Manchester City. Manchester United beat Aston Villa. Manchester United only drew with Coventry, who we beat, which makes Rotherham United world champions.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
I thought we were going to go the route of we still hold the record for the best comeback in FA Cup history, which is being 3-0 down and winning 4-3 with 15 minutes left.
Different level of winning.
Did 3 in 20.
Not going to get a world championship, that though, is it?
Not going to get that little gold badge on his shirt, is it, Danny? So, FIFA, if you're watching, send over them gold badges and we'll have them printed on.
Yeah.
What, world champions based on technicality?
Correct.
Based on facts.
Facts, yeah. If this was boxing, that we would be rightly world champions. So,
I mean, I don't think it would be gold. It would be more like a weird wooden. It'd be like a mahogany colour. To be
we
fair.
will take the gold badge, Danny. Anyway, thank you all for being with us tonight. It's been good. I've really enjoyed this episode. And I think this is going to be the case while Steve Evans is here. We're going to have a bit more fun, hopefully. There's going to be some bad games, obviously. But I think there's going to be much more to talk about. Even in these games that are irrelevant, there's still going to have much more to talk about and hopefully a bit more positivity. Please do subscribe on YouTube. As you can imagine, last week or so, the numbers have shot up with the news and everything else. So if you are with us for the first time, make sure you subscribe. Keep joining us. We try to have a bit of fun. So thank you all for being with us on this one. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, again, make sure you've subscribed and give us a 5-star rating where it does allow you to do so. Keep an eye out. We're going to get together and work out what the post-season plans are with a reveal of the predictions and whatnot. But keep an eye on the social. We'll work something out when those episodes are going to be to try and keep the content going through the summer. And we'll also the Euros as well. Mick, weird episode for you tonight, but thank you for being here. It's been all.
Why has it been weird?
Well, do you want to get Chris's comment back up?
No, you're right. I'm there. I've got it. Yeah. I'm going to have a sit down. I'm going to have a lie down now.
Yeah, perfect. Tom, a pleasure as always, mate. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the therapy.
Scouting out next season's opponents.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad this time either. It wasn't too much therapy. After the Rovers game, I needed it, actually. Never mind.
Fair. And Danny, a pleasure as always, mate.
Yeah, no worries at all. I've got a few content ideas brewing for over the summer as well, and into next season as well.
We'll be keeping busy. We'll be keeping very, very busy. Thank you all for being with us. We all appreciate it as always. And we'll see you all next time, which will be Thursday, for the preview of the last away game of the season, which Steve Evans will probably win because that was the most Steve Evans thing ever. But anyway, we'll see you then. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Slides into Wales, Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane.
On the edge of the box for Doffin, he can hit them, and he does. Doffin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United.
Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favor, drop me off in